welcome back to my channel. Today I have for you my wrap-up video for the month of January. I did very good this month. I was very worried at the beginning of the month because I felt like I was not having enough time dedicated to my reading. I was a little stressed out, I'm not gonna lie. But I did very good. I ended up reading 12 reads. Out of those 12 reads, I had 4 5-star reads, 4 4-star reads, 2 3-star reads, and 2 2-star reads. 1 a mystery/psychological thriller book, 1 non-fiction book, 2 fantasy books, 1 science fiction book, 5 poetry collections, and 2 comic volumes. Now let's talk a little bit more about the books that I read. This month I read So Estelle by Scalzi. This is the 4th book in the All Men's series. If you're not too familiarized with this series, basically there is a war going on in the galaxies and the human army is made out of old people who, after retiring, enlist into this army, and basically their deaths are faked in Earth and they leave to take part into this war and they are never to return back to Earth. The story evolves from there. There are many other things going on as the books continue. The story is not just about a war, it's about different species and how we cope with things, and basically touches on human history, how we tend to repeat the same mistakes. And I feel that is a reflection of different cultures and our own history. The story is very well written. I love the way he writes. It's just very engaging and it's very descriptive, and it's so easy to understand your surroundings. It is so easy to get a good picture of what is going on. It's just very nicely done. I do recommend this series. This particular book basically retells the events that took place in the previous book in the series, The Last Colony, but through the perspective of Zoe. I can't tell you too much about this story because being the 4th book in the series, it would definitely cause some of you to get spoiled. I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. I also finished this month Sojourn by R.A. Salvatore. I started reading this book last month, but unfortunately I didn't get to finish it. However, it was the 1st book I finished this month. I loved the story as I did all the other books. This is the 3rd book in the Dark Elf trilogy, so I can't again tell you too much about this particular book because it can definitely spoil you if you have yet to read the other 2. However, the story follows Drizzt Do'Urden. Drizzt is a dark elf. He's supposed to be this evil, mean, horrible creature as all other dark elves are known to be, yet he is different. He's got morals and he's got values and he knows exactly how he does not want to be, and he follows his heart. Basically the entire trilogy is about his journey of self-discovery and self-appreciation and all the things he encountered through his life. This book, as the others, got 5 out of 5 stars from me. I also read Heir of Fire by Sarah J. Maas. This is the 3rd book in the Throne of Glass series, another series I am enjoying fully and completely. This book is so good. I do feel that in this series, every new release is so much better than the last, even though the last one was fantastic. If you are not familiarized with this series, this story follows Selena, an assassin who was enslaved at a salt mine, and then she was released by the prince and the captain of the guard in order for her to compete in this competition to become the king's assassin. If she does win the competition and does end up becoming the king's assassin, she gets to work for the king and do his dirty work for a few years in order to gain her freedom. That story has changed so much from the 1st book. It's so easy for you to be pulled into the story and become part of it and feel for all of these characters. I'm really loving this story. I'm loving what is going on. It surprises me every time. I love the writing style. The world has developed so much from the 1st book. Also, the characters have grown. I think it goes without saying I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. As my non-fiction book of the month, I read The Wandering Jing and the Indian Princess, and this is by Wheelwright. I was having a very tough time getting through this book. I seriously spent basically the entire month trying to read this book. It's not a very large book. It's only about 200 and something pages. So it's relatively small. I should have been able to read this in a couple of days. The story talks about DNA. It talks about disease, especially cancer, disease, breast cancer and ovarian cancer, and a very particular type of cancer that is most popular amongst the Jewish community. So it also explores different kinds of religion. I thought it would be so interesting to read about these different cultures and these different beliefs and how this family coped with cancer and how their belief affected the decisions that they make in their treatment. But in the end, I don't know, I just felt that it was very inconclusive. The main girl that it was supposed to be talked about was just like a side effect almost in the story. It was not a focus, which I thought it was going to be. The writing style was enjoyable. My problem with the story was just the way that it was formatted. I just felt that it was too much like a textbook read or a newspaper read, and I had a very hard time getting drawn into the story. And I ended up giving this book 2 out of 5 stars. This month's pick for my book club with some of my coworkers was The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. It follows 3 women whose lives intertwined somehow, and it is written in a diary perspective, so you have day and night and you have a different input for each day. It also jumps amongst the 3 women, and it jumps from present to past, and there's one person missing and the mystery is trying to find out what happened to this person. I felt like I enjoyed the first section of the book more than I did the last section of the book, because at the beginning I was intrigued. I wanted to know what was happening. I could feel bad for the characters. As the story progressed, it became very predictable, and I don't know, I just didn't enjoy it as much as I really thought I would. I ended up giving this book 3 out of 5 stars. The next 5 books are all poetry collections. I'll start with Love and Misadventure, and this is by Leav. I loved this poetry collection. It's beautiful, it rhymes, it carries a nice message in each poetry, although they're short poems. I ended up giving this book 5 out of 5 stars. I could not have enough of Leav, so I picked up Lullabies by Leav. This was also a very enjoyable poetry line. Although I didn't love it as much as the first book, I still enjoyed it quite a lot. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I also read Till the Tide, and this is an anthology of mermaid poetry. It was very beautiful. I love mermaids, and I thought this was a beautiful collection. There are tons of poets in this collection, so it was very nicely mixed, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I also read Girl King by Brittany Cavallaro. This was a very empowering poetry collection. She is not scared, she is bold, and she is daring, and I loved her poetry. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. The last poetry collection I read this month was Chasers of the Light, poems from the Typewriter series, and this is by Knott Gregson. This was a very interesting poetry collection. It was so eclectic and it was just so pretty. So many different types of poetry within this little book. I mean, the style was so interesting. It's like written in all kinds of papers, in all kinds of photographs, and when I looked in the back and I read a little bit about the author and I realized that he is a photographer, it just made perfect sense. It was just very artistic and it was very enjoyable. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. These next 2 reads were 2 comic volumes. I read Youngblood, and this is volume 1 focus tested, and this is by Cassie, Donovan, and Crabtree. The art style was pretty enjoyable. However, the storyline, although I get the message that they tried to portray, I thought it was done in a way that it was just not as entertaining as it could have possibly been. The main topic in the story was basically how governments use the media as a way to motivate people to feel and act a certain way. This is a group of superheroes that had disbanded and is now brought together as members of this reality TV show. Also, the villains or their nemesis are brought in as well, and they're just being used as these dolls in order to get the people to agree later on with certain decisions the government will make. So I understood the message. I just thought it could have been done a bit differently, and I thought that would have made a big difference in how entertaining the story actually was. So I ended up giving this comic volume 2 out of 5 stars. The last book I have to talk to you guys about is Batman Eternal Volume 2. Again, you have that mixture of artists when it comes to the art, so you got to experience different kinds of art, which is interesting. Actually, in this volume, it wasn't as distracting as in the first one because most of the art styles were pretty similar, so it was easier to keep track of everything. I did enjoy the story. It didn't blow me away though. I preferred the first volume. I'm really hoping that the third volume is going to just put more things together, because I feel right now there's a lot of stuff going on in different places and it's a little bit all over the place, but I haven't gotten any conclusion to anything yet. So I do hope that in the next volume some things come to an end so that other things can expand a little bit more without making it just too crazy. I ended up giving this book 3 out of 5 stars. There you have it. Those were all my reads for the month of January. I hope you had a great reading month this January, and I will see you very soon in another video. Bye!